Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Rantoinette. Before we get into it, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I would really appreciate it. It costs you nothing and it means the world to me. Okay, let's get into it. Signal Gate, Dude Bro Gate is still in full effect. Jeffrey Goldberg is getting drug over the coals by the conservative media as being a really bad guy, and meanwhile CNN and MSNBC and most of us on the left are looking at it like, this is just epic fuck ups of, just critical proportions. It is incompetence personified. And I can't help but to hearken back to Benghazi and Hillary Clinton's emails. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't really care very much for Hillary Clinton. I don't think that she is a very good politician, a very good leader. She's just not a good human. But what's going on with this whole Signal Gate controversy makes Hillary Clinton look like her personal secure home server versus this public encrypted site called Signal where, oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody else has mentioned this, but this is actually one of the reasons why it's illegal is because it's against the Presidential Records Act. You're supposed to be able to, use the Freedom of Information Act, FISA, to, be able to look at, presidential records, and all of this stuff is supposed to be kept very secure, but also for reference for us because we're the American people. We pay for these things. And you've got these guys using this other encrypted server, which is never going to be able to be inspected. But I see a lot of people on CNN and MSNBC, they're going after this because of the comparison between this and the Hillary Clinton thing. And they're saying that the crime is using this insecure site, which, yes, they do have a point, but that's not the real crime here. The real crime is bombing Yemen and killing Houthis. There's no declaration of war. They never attacked us, but yet we're doing this. I mean, it's almost like, we haven't bombed anybody in a while. Let's go bomb some brown people. But that should be number one on your list of why this is illegal, because it is unconstitutional. No, we've not got a declaration of war out of Congress. They're going back to the war on terrorism thing from 2002. How are you going to hang this on that from over 20 fucking years ago? It's just absolute insanity. But Jeffrey Goldberg is getting raked over the coals by Fox, and I'm watching this. Look, Fox is just state TV at this point, for Republicans, and I'm watching these guys go on these talking heads on Fox News, doing their "Dear Leader, you've done wonderful things." I watched a guy, I can't remember the dude's name, but I watched the guy going, you should be able to look at all of this stuff, this, all these messages on this encrypted site and be able to, your takeaway should be, these are some really serious people talking about serious things. Yeah, man, I saw the serious stuff, the punch, fist, fire, rainbow emojis, like they're 14-year-old girls here. What are we doing? So, Pete Hegseth, old Whiskey Leaks himself, he says, we didn't discuss any military action on there. And after 24 hours of getting, bashed by Republican politicians and the media, Goldberg's like, okay, well, I'll just release the rest of this. And it's literal bullet points. At 12:15 is our first bombing attack. At 2:45 is our second bombing attack. And they're going to be coming in from the east. And they are literally typing this out, very specifically pointing out all of the military action that they're taking. So Pete Hegseth, you look like a dumbass. I mean, he looked like a dumbass before, But what about meritocracy? This alcoholic, wife-beaten, shit-ass husband, which, personal life aside, doesn't make him look very good. But now I wouldn't even say B team Fox News. I'd say C team weekend host dipshit that showed up to work drunk all the time. This guy is now the head of the Department of Defense. Yeah, man, he deserves it. We only hire the best people here in the White House. We only get the best people. He looks like he's straight out of Central Casting, folks. Look at him, strong shoulders, broad jaw. When he puts down the alcohol, the guy's a whiz. He knows all about the bombs, folks. He knows where to drop them and when. He knows where the bad guys are. I trust me some Pete Hegseth. Jesus Christ, man. So I think that this will probably stay in the news a little bit longer because it just points out the hypocrisy about Benghazi and Hillary Clinton's emails. But they really should be focusing mostly on the fact that they're doing illegal bombing. All right, so this one's kind of sad. It's really sad. It kind of hurts my feelings. Like a month ago, they had the Oscars, and there was this film that won an Oscar called No Other Land. It had two co-directors. One of them is Israeli and one of them is Palestinian. And I cannot, apologies for not being able to list off their names, but the Palestinian co-director for No Other Land had an attempted lynching, started off by Israeli settlers, and then he was snatched up by the IDF and taken into holding, kicked, beaten, tortured. They didn't kill him, which honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't. I mean, not that like it would do anything. I mean, I remember when that international chef, his people who were there in Gaza feeding people, all of their trucks got blown up. They were targeted and blown up, and nothing changed. Nothing happened. So if this guy had gotten killed, I don't think that, what do you think, Donald Trump would be like, oh, it's very bad. It's very bad. We can't have that anymore. Shit, man, he doesn't care. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. He got $100 million in his run-up for the president from Miriam Adelson. And in the two elections before, in 2020, he got $100 million from Sheldon Adelson. And in 2016, he got $100 million from Sheldon Adelson. That guy died, and his wife is now taking over the mantle of donating to Republicans. And I believe this time's concession for Israel is they want the West Bank. And it looks like they're going to get it. They're already there. Settlers are already moving into the West Bank, and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody. And a slight little adjunct here at home, we are curtailing free speech for people who are protesting the genocide in Gaza and what Israel is doing to these people. There was this young South Korean girl who is a green card holder. She's been living in the country since she was 7 years old. She went to a couple of protests, not like she was one of the leaders, not like the guy that they just disappeared and snatched up, Khalil. They snatched him up, and he's in Louisiana right now, I think. but nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure, there's somebody who knows, but, she wasn't one of those, at every protest. She went to a couple of them, but that was enough. So now ICE is hunting her down and she's hiding in her dorm room. This girl was the valedictorian of her high school class. Sounds like a real terrorist. She sounds like somebody who is a real threat, to democracy. All of this is just attacks on free speech. And the irony is that I can say and criticize harshly the United States for the things that they do, and I have freedom to do that for now. But I cannot say anything, or you cannot say anything bad about what Israel is doing. And when they say that you have freedom of speech, they don't really give a shit about freedom of speech. They care about their freedom to say what they want, and you shut the fuck up and just let me say it. And now we have ICE going after people, snatching them up, sending them off to labor camps. And I mean, what do we call the one in El Salvador? I mean, can we call that a concentration camp yet? I mean, that guy who was a soccer player who was tortured in Venezuela, came to America, to seek asylum, and instead of sending him back to Venezuela, sent him to the prison camp in El Salvador. I don't know what we're doing anymore. The First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. It's the most important one. We have freedom over our own thoughts. And honestly, it's starting to look like we don't get to have that anymore. Anyway, moving on. They haven't passed this yet, but in Florida, they are attempting to pass some child labor laws. So I guess we're going back to the 19-teens and 1920s, where we got kids in factories losing their arms and their hands. Who gives a damn? They're just kids. Florida is trying to pass this new law saying that 14-year-olds can work. Now, they will use the excuses like, well, I mean, we're just talking about 14-year-old kids that are working the fryer at McDonald's. No, honey, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about the night shift at a meat packing plant where some Hispanic kid who does not really have any rights in this country, that one is the one that's going to be working the night shift. Losing his arm, getting caught in a gear or something like that. They don't want to pay you a living wage. So they say, hey, man, boss man, do you mind if, I've been working here for a couple of years, do you mind if I get a raise? You know what? Actually, you're fired, and we're going to hire your kid at a lower rate. That's all this is. It's about capital. It's about making money. And if you can hire somebody who's 14 years old, who has no rights, probably, even if they were American, they have less rights in the workplace than an adult does. They certainly would fight a little bit less hard because they don't really know any better because they're fucking a child. They're just a child. But I don't know if it's going to pass yet, but it's looking like it's getting pretty close. And this is not the first time. I believe in Arkansas, they've already got some child labor laws on the books, or they got rid of child labor laws and they're starting to allow this. And lots of red states are considering this because they don't want to pay adults an adult wage. They'd much rather pay somebody who doesn't really know what their rights are to work for a lot cheaper. And I think they probably will succeed. It is Florida after all. Anyway, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who she's been making some waves lately. I appreciate the fact that she is able to, articulate the way she does. What was the thing she said about Marjorie Taylor Greene? The bad built butch blonde bimbo. That was great. That alliteration's fantastic. But she got in a little bit of trouble, or at least the right wing is apoplectic over it. She referred to Governor Abbott of Texas, because she was down there in Texas giving a speech, and she referred to him as Hot Wheels because Governor Abbott, when he was younger, I believe like a tree fell on him or something, and he is a paraplegic, so he's in a wheelchair. Now, normally this would be, somebody would say that, don't make fun of him, he is ableist, and that would be ableist to make fun of this guy. But that's like 1993 argumentation. We're not living in 1993 anymore. There's no decorum anymore. If Donald Trump has taught us anything, being nice and being civil, that shit don't work. The meaner he is, the more popular he gets. And one thing I will say about Jasmine Crockett that I really appreciate, and I hope she keeps this up, people went after her trying to get an apology out of her, and she said, hell no. The days of apologizing are over. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the run-up to the 2016 election, Donald Trump was asked a question by somebody, I don't know if he had muscular dystrophy or something, but he couldn't move his arm, and he was infirmed. And then Donald Trump made fun of him, basically making fun of his gimp arm, going, I don't know what he's saying. And he does his he's doing an imitation of this guy. And so you want Jasmine Crockett to be nice about Governor Greg Abbott, who, by the way, just so you can have a frame of reference, he got awarded a big sum of money for what happened to him when that tree fell on him, and the landscaping company or whatever, they paid him off. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If you get injured, I think you should be taken care of. Especially if it's something, by a company's neglect, absolutely. But soon as he got into office, he rolled back those laws so people that get injured on the job or by another company can't sue anymore, or can't get the sum of money that he got. So it's like, pulling up the ladder behind you. This is Greg Abbott. And what, you want us to be nice and civil? You want us to do the Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high? Honey, those days are gone. Those days are over. We've tried it over and over again. And they work the refs. They cry all the time. I want an apology. You're making fun of me, and I don't think it's fair anymore. Fuck you. I'm done with that shit. And I hope that Jasmine Crockett and the Democratic Party are over that shit too, because it's not worked. It's never worked. Trying to be nice and meet them in the middle has gotten us to this place right now. We need fighters. And if they can't take a little joke, oh, wait a minute, I thought, comedy was dead before, but now we brought it back. Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, they brought comedy back, baby. Well, you can't be a snowflake and not take it. I've never seen bigger snowflakes than the Republican Party. You say one little thing about them or about something that they don't like, they're like, boo, I don't like it. When you see these people like at a comedy club and somebody makes a joke they don't like, they will fucking pitch a bitch on their way out the door. I don't like it. You're not funny. You're not saying the things that I like. You're saying something about our dear leader, Donald Trump. Honey, suck it up. Grow a pair. Whatever it takes. We're not listening to your bullshit anymore. We're not listening to your little crocodile tears anymore. Your white lady tears aren't working anymore. I'm sorry. Those days are over. Thank your boy Donald Trump for that. We're done with this game. Anyway, I'm going to keep it short today. That's the end of the show. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And hopefully We'll get through this together. Only another 3 years. Fuck. Stick with me, folks. We're going to find our way through it. Keep fighting the good fight. Thanks for watching.